has been delivered to my house. So I'm the pack rat again. So yeah, we stored all the precious stuff that you might need later. Later in life again, we stored that all away and repacked the whole bloody garage to do that. Got some, what do you call it, crates, repacked stuff. Old curtain, you know, fancy curtains, but they've moved into a fully furnished apartment in Dubai. They're all there, all happy, all going on.
It's lekker, man. Now, how do I watch this and do the net as well? Because I need to get started, but I need to try and open this up. Well, hopefully this thing will make a noise. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday the 23rd. Time is 1900 hours. Let's get started with this week's weekly check-in. ZS6IP is standing by.
My radios are dead. I got a power. Somebody worked on the power here. Unplugged my leads or something like that. So I'm not gonna.
Okay, it's fine. Not a problem. Okay, any check-ins? Anybody out there? Anybody out there? There was a song that does lyrics to it, and I can't remember which one it is. Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. There we go. That's what I was recording. ZS6IP is standing by. Say again, Audrey.
So one of the Bee Gees, the mining disaster. Anybody out there? No, that is from Brick in the Wall. You're right.
Giving away my age. Yeah, my back is so sore. This cold has really got into me.
I'm cutting
okay, 1903. Let's check if anybody else is out there. I've got ZS6SNY on Zoom, so let's see if anybody's with us here on 2 meters. ZS6IP.
Audio was breaking down quite substantial now.
We're on Zoom.
Yes.
I think it's when I move between. I've got you on a minimized screen. So if I go to the full screen, then there's a bit of a jitter and a shudder, and I think it might be breaking up while the iPad resets. I lose the video as well. Okay, last call for check-ins. ZS6IP is standing by.
I see Joburg has got a new attraction. It's called jumping taxis, not jumping castles.
Just remember the recordings on. We'll investigate the deep south at the end of the net. Okay, no further check-ins then. In that case, I'm going to get started. 1905. And of course, today is Tuesday, 23 July 2023, and the time is 1905. We begin the weekly net with the radio amateur check-ins on the Ridderpoort repeater for 5 minutes before proceeding. This net is broadcast every Sunday evening starting at 1900 and is broadcast for the benefit of radio amateurs, disaster relief cert volunteers, and members of the general public. This net is therefore open to all interested parties. Everyone is welcome to participate using either amateur radio, Zoom, or both. And I'd like to remind all radio amateurs who have not checked in that you do not need to be a member of any group or club to check in or to use the repeater or any of the amateur bands. All that is required from you is that you have a valid amateur radio license issued by ICASA, which automatically grants you the right to use any of the amateur radio bands at any time. There is therefore no need to ask for or be granted permission from anyone to use the repeaters or amateur radio bands. I'd also like to encourage all listeners and participants to share the Weekly Net Zoom link with everyone they know throughout South Africa. Doing so will help us grow the Weekly Net and contribute to disseminating information as far and wide as possible. Okay, time to unpack the weekly COVID-19 figures. Again, as per usual, all the sites have closed down. However, World Health Organization is still reporting in this week at 768,237,788 cases. As at 8:20 on the 19th of July, compared to the 767,972 cases of the previous week. This week, our global increase is a lot lower than the previous week's increase. We're looking at 264,000 cases, whereas the previous week was 454,000. And as I said before, I think this is attributed to the fact that July 4 holidays in the US might not have been able to include all the stats for that period. The global death toll now stands at 6,951,677. That's an increase of 1,022 this week, whereas the previous week's increase was 3,463. So again, a significant drop week on week. Moving on to Mpox. Mpox is now being reported at 88,503 cases globally as at the 18th of July, compared to the 88,288 of the previous week. We see this week's increase at 215, and this seems to be about the average the last couple of weeks, so about 200 cases per week. Cholera, on the other hand, still no further updates, standing at 166 cases with a total of 32 deaths. Mumps, same story, no further updates, currently still standing at 580 cases, with KZN at 280, and Mpumalanga at 97, and GP Gauteng province has a total of 64 cases. Diphtheria, there's also no update since the 2 laboratory confirmed cases of toxigenic diphtheria were identified in April of 2023. Now, measles as at 21 July, again, figures are always skewed. I have to go back 3 or 4 weeks, week on week, and adjust the figures because it looks like they do a test today, a test positive, and then they don't submit it for a while. So we are standing at 1,115 cases, an increase of 5 from last week's total of 110,000. Limpopo, 511 cases, still remains the same. Northwest, 180, correction, at 217. Week on week, no change, and Gauteng at 187. So again, no new cases this week. Admittedly, I must state that even though the cases did increase by 5, that was purely because of the week-on-week adjustments being made. For this week, they have not actually reported any cases, which is rather weird. All right, seeing as we are in load shedding and I am working on the handheld, fortunately no further news except, of course, that massive flooding and that took place in Spain last week, with thousands, as I reported last week, having to be evacuated. And therefore, tonight I can say, in closing, I'd encourage everyone that is listening to register as a disaster relief cert volunteer and to prepare and train to assist local communities when disaster strikes. And of course, for those of you that do in actual fact keep up with the news, we do have some new sightseeing areas within the city CBD. well, reasonably big holes as a result of that explosion that was experienced last week, Wednesday, in Bree Street. The current reports are that it was actually a combination of a natural gas, methane, and some open flame that actually ignited it. The one report I was listening to this afternoon, they have actually identified within certain of the tunnels and servitudes underground, there is quite a high level of methane. So that's something that we need to now consider as well. Okay, so radio amateurs who have not yet checked in, I'd like to encourage you to check in now. ZS6OP is standing by. So anti-crime group today's been going busy the whole day. All right, nothing else heard. I'd like to thank all those who have checked in this week, as well as those who have joined via Zoom. And as the COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing and still infecting thousands weekly, just to give you an idea that we do have one case in the Constantia Kloof area, so it is really on our border still. I'd like to remind you to distance yourself and also for you to, in actual fact, wash your hands on a regular basis and, of course, sanitize them. If you are around the elderly, then it might be an idea for you to wear a mask as well. So for the week moving forward, be safe, be prepared, and, of course, be happy. This is ZS6OPS now releasing the Redipert repeater for general use. Cheers all. Right, let's get this to stop. No, not stop. Stop the recording.